Okay, we are live. Wait 1 second. Go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is our talk about investing in the Egyptian stock market for people who live in Canada. If you're Egyptian, it is great. It's a perfect way to make some money on the side. If you're not Egyptian and you just want to understand more about investing in general, then you have come to the right place. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to everyone who has joined us in person. So, let's get right down to business, shall we? Egypt. Why Egypt? First, I should tell you who I am, because it's very easy for people to come up and say, hey, you should do this, this, and that, and they have absolutely no credibility. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself without looking at the slide that I created, but because I know it all from memory. Now, I've started investing since 2008. I started in the Kuwait stock market, and I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that people were putting money in the stock market and they were somehow able to make fortunes, and I did not want to miss out. So I started with very little understanding. I just knew that I had to buy stock. And at that time, in 2008, there was something called the odd lot market. So the market was very different than what it is now. It was very difficult. But I got my foot in the door, and I started to see small returns. Small, but measurable. I also invested in cryptocurrency, which I would not tell anyone to do, honestly. It's like the stock market on steroids. The good thing about stock markets is that they close. Crypto never does. Crypto never sleeps. In 2021, after the COVID pandemic hit, I knew I wanted to invest in Egypt. I was born and raised in Kuwait, and I knew I had to get money into the Egyptian stock market. I didn't do it in 2020, I did it in 2021, November 2021 to be specific. As of today, I've invested in 19 different companies in Egypt, of which 17 have risen in value. Most important thing that I want to mention is this: the long-term philosophy. I will tell you exactly what I am not here to do. I am not here to blow smoke up your rear. I'm not here to promise you quick money. I'm not here to promise you instant profits. What I am going to show you is how to consistently build wealth in the long term. It's been 4 years for me in the Egyptian stock market. And in those 4 years, given the number of times that the currency has devalued, my investment maintained its return. And I will explain why as we go ahead. So, that handsome gentleman here is me, Ayman Nassar, investment awareness consultant. I am here to guide you into how I made my returns in the stock market. And I did it by not taking much risk. Now, there is no such thing as zero risk, but there is such a thing as calculated risks. And what I did was I took calculated risks. So, for example, the biggest triumphs that I have claimed to my name are Egyptian Financial and Industrial Company. Its stock trade code is EFIC. What I understood is that they sell manure, which is basically bullshit. That stock in 2021 cost me 15 pounds, and it was the most expensive stock I bought. Like I did a whole analysis because, again, times have changed. The data we have available now in 2025 is way different than what I started with in 2021. But I did it the hard way, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what I did. But this was the most expensive stock I bought at 15. Today, it is at 158. So even if the Egyptian pound has devalued and lost 90% of its value, my stock went up 10 times. Talat Mustafa Group Holding. Basically, it goes to say that Sylvester Stallone works for me because I own shares in Talat Mustafa Group, and they hired him to do an ad for their properties. When I bought that stock, it was trading at £8. It is now at 53. 4 years with the currency devaluations. El Swedi Electric Cables bought it at 9.4. It has now reached 81.5. Dice Garments is a very interesting story, which I will share as we go along. But it basically started that I like their clothing, I like their underwear, and I like their ads. Their ads were very risque, and they played during Ramadan, and I found them hilarious. So when I had a chance to buy that stock, I was like, why the hell not? And at the time, it was trading at 75 piastres. It was expected to reach 90, and I would have been happy with that. But then something very bad happened. The stock went down, because you realize I said I bought it at 75, and here I'm showing the price as 0.43. That is not a typo. Something bad happened. The stock fell in price. Now, I will tell you the rest of that story as we go along, but just keep that in mind, because there is a good ending to the story. Whereas it was at 0.43, it is now at 2.5. Now, I'm not here, like I said, to just tell you all the good things. I will also tell you the bad. When I first started, I told you I bought this in 2021 for 15, and it was the most expensive stock I bought. In 2024, I'd like to say, or 2023, I bought this stock, Mopco, at 72, because the website I use for stock tips was saying that this stock has a potential to triple. And I went all in, and I told my brothers about it, and I bought stocks for my brothers, for my brother. The other one didn't want to get in on it, but I did buy for one, and that stock fell. But the story of this and this is closely related. So I will get to it at a later slide. Now, like we said, there is no such thing as risk-free when it comes to investing, but it is the best time to invest now. Uncertainty is a great time to get in the market, because if you will have noticed, when the talks of tariffs, since we live in Canada, were ongoing, prices in the stock markets were plummeting. And regardless of whether you choose to invest in Egypt or any other market, when prices are down, that is a perfect time to get in. The best time to invest is yesterday, the second best time is today, and the third best time is tomorrow. Did I skip one? Nope. Yep. Here. So, why invest? Why did I do it? First and foremost, I want passive income. Now, a lot of people will tell you that passive income is making your money work for you. It's money that works when you go to sleep. Money never sleeps. Wall Street, the movie. But the definition of passive income is different. Some people consider day trading to be passive income, but it is anything but. Because you're constantly watching the screen for prices to tick up or down. And I know personally a friend who lost thousands of Kuwaiti dinars, strongest currency in the world, because of a 2-second gap between the time that his finger clicked the button of the mouse and the time that this click was registered on the system of the website that he was using to trade options. Those 2 seconds cost him thousands. So not everything that they say is passive is actually passive. I have a son. I have parents, as the case usually goes. We all have parents. My parents' investment strategy is put all your money in the bank, buy certificates of deposit, lock it up for 3 years, and then get some money at the end. That is not what I want to do. I went to business school. I'm not telling you that I was the best and brightest. I got by. I was an average student. But what little information I was able to retain is exactly what is helping me to navigate the stock market at this age. And mind you, I graduated almost 20 years ago. As I mentioned, certificates of deposit are a scam. But just to go back to this part here, what would you rather do? Would you rather leave your children with money that is just money or money that makes money? And in the later slides, I will show you how investing in the stock market, in any stock market, is an investment that makes money. Now, forget about that story with the person who went to the Nigerian person and that guy told him that, hey, if you give me $1,000, I'll bring it back to you as 2,000. And then he said, oh, your money was pregnant. And then he's like, if you give me 5,000, I'll give you 10. And then he brought it back the next day. And then he said, if you give me 10, I'll give you 20. And then he never saw him again. So no, your money is not pregnant, but your money can make you money. So certificates of deposit are a scam. Everyone is talking about real estate, gold, mutual funds. What makes the stock market better than all of these? In my honest opinion, number one, the shares are yours. They are in your name. It does not require a huge investment. To start investing in Egypt, it was around 5,000 Egyptian pounds, which you used to buy the stocks in the first place. And that's, I can't do math off the top of my head, but it's basically 5,000 divided by 35, if you're talking in Canadian dollars. Roughly be about maybe 1 point. Okay, I'm not going to do the math. Most important thing is that it can be partitioned. So I'm going to tell you my investment strategy, and I didn't hit that investment strategy from the get-go. No, I paced myself. I did it bit by bit. I took the risk that I was comfortable with, or as we say in Arabic, على قد لحافك مد رجليك. Why should we invest in Egypt? The real question is, why not invest in Egypt? Egypt is home. There is an emotional connection there. You can think of it as patriotism. I think of it as patriotic profiteering. Because you will remember that a few years ago, we were all asked to invest in the second tributary for the Nile that was made, that was supposed to help with cargo and whatnot. I have no idea how that investment went, but I can tell you for fact that if you had invested in the stock market, it would have probably played out better in your sake. Covering expenses. As far as I know, all Egyptians that live in Canada do at some point in time return to Egypt, whether it is for a holiday, whether it is visiting family, or many just go there to cover expenses. And wouldn't it be great if we can cover those expenses without having to dip into our pockets? I'm doing just that. I open up my bank account in Egypt and I miraculously find money there. And it's not by magic, it's by investment. I invested and I am reaping the reward of my investment. And that amount, I'm not saying right now it's enough for me to live comfortably, but it is a welcome amount that I find in my account every 2 months, every 3 months, depending on how dividends are paid by those companies. Currency hedge. Now, as we have said numerous times, between 2021 and 2025, where we are now, the Egyptian pound has lost a lot of its value. If you ask ChatGPT, it will put that at around 96%. Stocks are commodities, just like bread is a commodity, just like cars are a commodity, just like apartments are a commodity. Every price that you know of has increased. The same is true for stocks. You bought the stock at a price, the Egyptian pound gets devalued, the price rises accordingly to cover that difference. So for me, it is a perfect currency hedge. Rules. Just like marriage, there are rules to engagements. You need to know the rules, you need to play by the rules, you need to not trade by emotion. The greatest investment brain of all time, the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, has many rules in life that you can find online about how to invest and why to invest. But I've taken some of the pearls of wisdom that he has shared, and I like to follow them in my investment strategy. So, number one, never invest more than you're willing to lose. I've heard plenty of horror stories of people who got a hot tip that a stock was going to triple. They went all in. They took their children's education fund, they took their rent money, they took their savings, they took their, I don't know what the equivalent is of 401k here, but basically they put everything on that one horse. And that's akin to going to a Russian roulette table and betting all on black. It is a crazy risk. And it didn't pay off. And these people are sitting with their hands over their hearts, watching their life savings plummet. And that's when you feel a loss. I'm going to explain to you in later slides why there is no such thing as a loss in the stock market. It all depends on how long you can hold your breath and how long you can take a loss. Most importantly, if you're following this strategy where you never invest more than you're willing to lose, you will never need to sell stock. Dollar cost averaging. It's a very interesting concept to think about, but again, when I first started buying stock, I told myself that there is a magic number of shares that I need to own in order to benefit from the dividends that are paid by these companies. Now, for me, that magic number that I reached was 1,000. I said, you need to buy 1,000 shares of any company, and that is when you will feel the dividends, because dividends are paid per share. So if you can own 1,000 shares, that is perfect. But now let's say, for example, if we go back to the prices we were talking about. Now, EFIC, Egyptian Financial and Industrial Company. We bought it at 15, it reached 158. It wasn't always at 15. It didn't just jump suddenly to 158. It was at 15, then it went to 20, then it went to 25, etc., etc. So what dollar cost averaging teaches us is that if you start buying small amounts of the share over a period of time, your average cost is lower, as opposed to me buying it at 15 and then suddenly just going to buy it again at 158. Your average cost will be monumental. But because I paced myself, because I said I want to buy 1,000 shares, and I bought it over a period of time, my average cost was 15. So that's what I meant by dollar cost averaging. Do not just jump in with both feet. Test the waters. That is the benefit of the stock market. You have the ability to test the waters. You don't need to go all in, all at once. Consistent investment strategy. Rome was not built in a day, neither will your portfolio double in a short time. As I've said in the intro to this video, which I sponsored on Facebook and Instagram, my investment has tripled in its value. So if I put in, let's say, 10,000, I now have 30,000 worth of stock, including the loss I suffered from, what was that company called again? Mopco. Everyone hears the story of triple and their eyes light up and they imagine it will happen overnight. No, it does not happen overnight. I played the long game. I bought my stocks over 4 years. I picked my companies very diligently. I will not tell you that I used the essence of my education to pick those companies. No, that's why I'm telling you. Investing in stocks is so simple, even a monkey can do it. I'm not calling you a monkey, I'm just saying it's very easy. Okay, sorry, here we go. So, overview of the Egyptian stock market. These are all numbers. You can go on to Google and verify them. You can check and compare. But the bottom line is, as a market, the Egyptian stock market is in a growth phase. I'm comparing it to Kuwait, the strongest currency in the world. I have almost a similar amount invested in both, and the returns I am seeing and the value I have seen in Egypt is triple. Whereas in Kuwait, that amount is only double. Egypt is doing very well in terms of the companies it has and the vision that it has. But again, don't take my word for it. Look at the numbers. Now, a logical mind can say, okay, but we live in Canada. Why don't you invest in Canada? Which is a very good question. Number one, capital tax gains, non-existent in Egypt. You will tell me something about how, but if I invest from my RSP, or I will be honest with you, I don't know much about the Canadian market and Canadian taxes because, again, I moved here 2 years ago from a country that had 0 taxes. So tax is a foreign concept to me. But I'll explain to you why investing in Egypt is a better idea than Canada. Simply put, market cap. Remember how we said that in order to feel the power of dividends, you need to own at least 1,000 shares of stock? Well, the most expensive stock in Egypt costs 410 pounds, which is $11.7. To feel dividends, you need to own at least 1,000 shares, like we said. So to buy 1,000 shares at $11, you're talking about an investment of $11,000. And again, you're not making this investment immediately. You can build it up over the years. The most expensive stock in Canada is a company called Constellation Software. It may not be because honestly there were so many companies in Canada that I couldn't go through the whole list. But this share was trading between 2,391 to 3,856. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, one share of the A stock costs over 825,000 US dollars. So where do you get a more bang for your buck? Back home. Now, the most important slide of all is how do you make money from the stock market? There are 3 ways that you can benefit from the stock market. Number 1, unrealized gains. It's a very important concept to understand because many people will look at the second word and ignore the first. Unrealized. Meaning, we bought a stock in Egypt for 15 pounds, IFIC, the example I like to use. That stock is now worth 150. It has gone up 10 times. You purchased 1,000 shares. You spent 15,000 Egyptian pounds. It is now worth 158,000 Egyptian pounds. Doing quick math, that means you are up 143,000 Egyptian pounds in the green. But it is unrealized. You will only realize it if you sell. So until the stock is sold, so long as you own it, you own its profits and its losses. So when I spoke about that company that dropped, MOPCO, MFPC, it may have gone down in value from 70 to 40. But so long as I don't sell it, I don't lose. And most importantly, even if a company's value has dropped, guess what? They still pay these 2. Let's go with cash dividends first. Cash dividends are the side hustle. That's how I make my money in my sleep. I bought stocks in MFPC, MOPCO. Those stocks have gone down in value. Yet guess what? Just last week, they paid me 10,000 Egyptian pounds as part 1 of their dividends. There's going to be a part 2 later on in the year, around August. Even if the company's value has dropped, it still pays dividends. So at a certain amount, at a certain period in time, those dividends will be enough to cover your initial investment that you put in. Over the years, that money will flow back to you. Now, my most desired form of dividends is this one, stock dividends. Now, I'm sorry, I forgot to explain what dividends are. Dividends are basically a company's way of rewarding you for keeping your money with them, for not selling. So every year, some companies will go ahead and say, we have decided to distribute part of our profits to our shareholders. And that profit is either distributed as cash dividends or stock dividends. Cash dividends is cash that you get into your account. It's cold, hard cash. If it were up to me, though, I would go with this one, stock dividends. Ask me why. Oh, someone said why. Stock dividends are, to me, like buried treasure. I call this my buried treasure theory. Let's say you bought 1,000 stocks, 1,000 shares in a company, and in a first year, they gave you 10% bonus shares or stock dividends. Those terms are interchangeable. We might use either or. They mean the same thing. Bonus shares, stock shares, bonus dividends, stock dividends, same thing. Your 1,000 shares are now 1,100. Next year, they gave another 10%. That 1,100 is now 1,211. This is the beauty of compound interest. Your shares will grow. Now, this is the share growing. I'm not even looking at its price. But at the very least, you can guarantee that the amount, that the value, the unrealized gain will definitely be more because you now own more shares. And the beauty of it is, I'll give you an example of National Bank of Kuwait, NBK. NBK is a stock I bought in Kuwait. It was the first stock I bought. I bought a very small number of shares at the time, like 250. It consistently paid dividends. Now, if you remember from the beginning of this, I told you I bought shares in Kuwait in 2008. Now, I did keep buying more stocks in NBK, but not to the point where now, in 2025, I would have 1,000 shares in a bank whose shares are trading at almost 1 KD per share. And that is directly through the power of stock dividends. In 2021, I had another epiphany in Kuwait. I invested in a company called Al-Eid Foods. It was trading at 70 fils. It is now over 200. I went in all the way with that one. I took money that, like I said before, I was not afraid to lose, but I bet it all on one horse. I did not diversify. I said my portfolio is diverse enough. I want to focus on this one company. And guess what? This one company in 2 years paid stock dividends to the tune that now I have almost 10,000 shares in that company. Well, if you'll remember, I said always buy at least 1,000. With this one, I bought 1,000 KDs worth, so I had 7,000 shares. Those 7,000 in 3 years are now 11,000. That is the power of stock dividends. If we're going to talk about investing in Egypt from Canada, let's talk about how it is done. One of the questions we got online was someone who wanted to learn about investing, and they used the golden term of trustworthy broker and an account called Thunder, I believe, THUNDR. Now, for me, I'm all about safety and security when it comes to investment. So I've never invested in a market where I wasn't physically present. In Kuwait, I went to the stock market. I picked a broker based on their entry level. Some brokers in Kuwait would say that you need to invest at least 5,000 KD. I found one that said, invest whatever you want. And that's why I opened up my trading account in Kuwait with only 500 KD, as opposed to the 5,000 that NBK Capital wanted to open up as trading accounts. I did the same exact thing when I went to Egypt. I narrowed down the agents, the brokers, because you cannot just go to the stock market and say, here's my money, give me shares. You have to go through a broker. Brokers have apps. So you choose a broker. I chose one broker who was situated أول عباس, and وأنا رايح لهم, the elevator got stuck on the way up. So I took that as a bad omen. And I was only able to get out of the elevator after they had closed. So I was like, God is definitely speaking to me and saying, stay away from this company. On the way back home, I found another address for another broker called Al Arabiya Online. And they were open. And their elevator worked. So when I walked in, I signed 1,000 documents and I started trading with them immediately. Because like I said, if you're not present in that market, using apps like Thunder, apps like, I think there's an app called something 500 that a friend of mine uses. There's a lot of apps that give you access to markets, but I don't have much experience with those. I would rather, go to the market itself, find out the brokers there, and deal with them. And in Egypt, it's very simple. You open a trading account with a reputable brokerage firm. You have the option of opening an Egyptian bank account in a bank that the broker deals with. And I'll explain why. With Arabiya Online, they deal with Ahli United Bank, or it was Ahli United Bank back in 2021. Now that company was bought out by Kuwait Finance House. Surprise, surprise, small world. The country I used to live in is buying the country that I never lived in. So KFH now is the dividend arm of Arabiya Online. And why is that important? Simply because if you are to receive dividends and not have a bank account in Egypt, those dividends will be paid to you as checks. You will have to pick up those checks in person and deposit them into whatever account you might have. So like, let's say you have an account at CIB or Bank Masr or Bank Al-Ahli, the money will not be transferred automatically. And if you'll recall from the beginning of the conversation that I was having, I said that I was checking my bank account and I would find money there. Now, what I do with that money is that I use it to buy more stocks. Now, yes, it can also start covering my travels, and sometimes it does. When I go to Egypt, I use that money to spend around, to buy stuff, to travel, to go use Uber, whatever. That money is there. And because I have a bank account in the bank that my broker deals with, that money is deposited instantaneously, as opposed to waiting for me to go to the bank in person to withdraw checks. The first year of dividends, I did not do this, so I had to go and receive checks and then go down and cash them. Funding your account is very easy when it comes to a reputable broker like Arabiya Online. What I do is I use InstaPay. They have accounts there, and I send them money through InstaPay. InstaPay now started charging 0.1% as a transfer fee. If you think that is excessive, you can still use the traditional transfer method of a direct bank transfer. So like, let's say you have an account in any other bank, they have accounts in those banks and you just IBAN transfer it to their accounts. And I don't think you have to pay anything for it. Last but not least, you need to choose your stocks wisely. Buy what you understand. If you wouldn't explain it to your grandmother, don't buy it. Now, I did not exactly follow this advice. I did buy shares in some companies based on the information that I had received from a website that I use, which I will be sharing with you in a second. But the beauty of that website is it gives you the opportunity to go on and read up about that company. It will give you all the information you need, should you so choose. I prefer not to have a headache. I have a very simple investment strategy. And let me just see what the next, okay, so here we go. The next slide is telling you the websites to start with. So first website, simplywall.st. Before I found this website, I had to go online, find a website for some obscure broker in Egypt that had all the dividend information for 5 years from before 2021 when I started investing. I put all of these into an Excel sheet. I ran through that Excel sheet and I made a pivot table and I said, show me the dividends that were paid by companies consistently. So, and also you need to understand this is in the heyday before ChatGPT. You can just ask ChatGPT all of this now and it will give you the exact answer. You don't even have to say hypothetically. Simplywall.st will give you the suggestions of what stocks are currently trading below their fair value. It will give you suggestions about buying the dip. It will give you suggestions about potential companies that can triple in value. Now, when it comes to Simplywall's review, like I said, my portfolio has 19 companies in Egypt. I did that extensive Excel search myself. But then what I did was I compared the list I prepared to Simplywall's websites, which showed their suggestions. And most of the companies I had picked were already on that list. Investing.com is another good website. It shows prices, trends. It's really good for all markets. So the first two are golden if you're talking about stocks in Canada, stocks in the US, stocks in the Bahamas. That's actually one of the greatest things about simplywall.st. It's a free website, and you simply just pick the market you want and just see the suggestions that they have. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to Simplywall, I'm checking the suggestions that they are making, then I am taking that information and going here. Mubashir.info is more geared towards the MENA region, the Middle East or North Africa. It has information about all the markets in that area: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Egypt. Egypt is included in that list. And on Mubashir.info, you will find a historical sheet that shows the price of the stock from when it first started trading till today. And I'm going to go into the strategy of how to pick those stocks as soon as we are done with this presentation. But basically, in the order of selection, go to Simplywall first, whatever websites, whatever companies it says, check them out on Mubashir.info, and then hopefully you will have opened up a trading account, or you have a trading account. Then you just go and start trading that share. I told you I was going to tell you a funny story about DICE. So what happened with DICE is that I bought the share at 75 piastres. Instead of rising to 95, it dipped down to 30. This is where I say your losses can hurt you. So I decided that since the money that I put in was not something that I would feel bad about losing, I decided to just keep holding that share. And anyway, I never sell shares. In all my entire life, I only ever sold one share in Kuwait. It was called Alafco, Aviation Leasing and Financing Company. I bought that share at 150 fils. It went up to 300, and I was like, wow, I made 100% profit. To put that in perspective, if you had put in 1,000 KD, it's now worth 2,000. If you put in 10,000, it's now worth 20,000. But how much did I put in? I put in 100 KD. So risk and rewards. Risk is directly proportional to rewards. But again, cannot emphasize this enough. Never invest more than you are willing to lose at the start. If you start building your portfolio consistently, you won't feel that loss. But if you go all in from the beginning, then you're panic buying and you're going to panic sell. So what happened with Dice is that the price fell down to 34. What I decided is that I will just buy more of it, and I'll buy more of it. Initially, I bought 5,000 shares. I started to buy, no, actually, no, wait, I didn't buy, I just held and I was quiet. A few months later, they decided to do something called a stock split, where for every share that you have, they will give you 3 shares. So the 5,000 shares I had initially purchased at 75 piasters were now 15,000 shares at 35 piasters. Trust me on the math here, in the end, it was basically zero. So like I didn't lose anything, I didn't gain anything. But when they did that, I doubled down on that stock. I bought a lot. I started buying more. And it went up from 35 to 45 to 75 to 1.5 to 2.5 where it is now. The beautiful thing about Dice is that one time when I was visiting my broker, and I don't usually visit them, I was signing up my cousin with them, they told me that a company was interested in buying Dice shares and they were willing to reach out to the stockholders to buy their shares. At the time, the share was trading at 1.1 and they were willing to pay us 1.25. I said thanks, but no thanks. I don't sell stock. And that stock is now at 2.5. That is the same exact strategy I'm going to follow with MOPCO, MFPC, the company I bought at 70 that fell down to 40. I have been doubling down. I have been buying more of it. Is this a sound strategy? No, but at the very least, it brings down the dollar cost averaging. So now the average cost of my shares is no longer going to be 70. It's going to drop down lower and lower and lower. And once that company makes a comeback, then I'll be sitting on something good. So we have reached the end of this Q&A session. But what I didn't tell you is how you can, no, actually I did. I told you how to invest in the stocks, right? We said that. You go to Simply Wall, you select the market. I'm going to show you now from the laptop how the website looks like. Please don't pay attention to the numbers on it. They are, most of them are not correct. But you take the data from Simply Wall, you go to mubashir.info and you check to see the history of the stock. Personally, I want stocks that consistently pay cash dividends. And if they consistently pay stock dividends, it's even better. If they only pay stock dividends, it is great. Like I said, Warren Buffett was very pragmatic in when he said, do not spend more than you are willing to lose. The stock market is not for the faint of heart. You need to be able to buy your shares and wait for the rewards. Now, we will turn it over to the questions that we have. Like I said, I did receive questions online where people were saying we need a reputable broker. If that question was asking about the Egyptian stock market, I cannot stress this enough, but Arabiya Online are the best I have dealt with in terms of if I compare them to the broker I have in Kuwait, who tells me nothing. These people are constantly sending me updates on WhatsApp to the point that I have them in the archive because they just send too much data. They bombard me with emails about what happens in the week, and the day, sorry, daily emails telling me what happened in the Egyptian stock market, which stocks are trading, who bought what. And you know what I'm doing with that data? I'm feeding it into my good friend ChatGPT, and I'm saying, analyze it and find me trends. And that is something that can only be done in 2025, where it is now giving me suggestions. Now, I'm going to go on some of those suggestions, and I will let you know how they play out. But again, the whole idea is never spend more than you're willing to lose. Questions?
So, what's a good amount to start with investing? And how do you start?
Excellent question, my good man. When it comes to investing, you have two strategies. Either you use your savings to build your portfolio if you have them. But when it comes to your savings, I am not here, like I said, to risk your money. What I want you to do is to invest smartly. The smart investment says you need to have enough money as savings, just pure savings, to cover 6 months worth of your costs. So those costs are anything that you have to pay on a monthly basis. So rent, car, mortgage, food, put an amount for food, fuel, all of that. You take that amount of money and you multiply it by 6. Whatever you get, that should be in your account as savings. Anything, and if you want to be even more safe, make it 12 months. And make sure that you have enough to cover your basic expenses in case, heaven forbid, you go through a tough period where you don't have money flowing in. You can at least guarantee that you'll be able to sustain yourself for 6 months. Anything above 6 months, take part of that and start buying shares. Some people can say, okay, but what if I don't have savings? I'm living month to month. Okay. Here, we're going to rely on our good friend Warren Buffett and go with another one of his pearls of wisdom. Do not spend, then save, save, then spend. So let's say, for example, you get your monthly salary, or here it's bi-weekly, sorry, you used to live in Kuwait. You get your bi-weekly salary, you take an amount from it that you can consistently put into the market. Like let's say $50. You take $50, and you send it to Egypt, and you put it into your trading account, and you start buying shares. So you either have savings that you can put in, but not all at once, so long as you are covering your 6 months of emergency investment, emergency money, so that you don't, so that you're able to cover any expenses that pop up, or you simply put in a consistent amount. And I'm with you. Sometimes, you know, you went out and you had more fun than you intended. You ordered more food. You had fun and you couldn't put in that 50. If you miss a month, it's okay. But just try to keep it consistent, because consistency is key. That's how you build the generational wealth, if you put in money on a consistent basis. Any other questions?
So how can I open an account remotely and with a safe broker?
Great question. As I've been telling you, if we're talking about the Egyptian stock market, I found Arabiya Online to be very good in how we trade together. The information they give, their app, the interface is very lively. It's when I use it, I like to call it going fishing. So what I do is I wake up in the morning and I see the price of the stocks that I have, and I click on buy, and then I reduce a few pounds or piastres depending on what the stock is. And I say, okay, I will buy it if it goes down to this price. So like, let's say, for example, if we go to the DICE, which is trading at 2.5 today, 275 maybe, I would say I will buy it if it goes down to 2.4. And I say I will buy 500. They will take a percentage as a fee. And I will tell you that in the 4 years I have been trading with them, at the level that I have bought, all they have taken as their fees over 4 years is $200. Their fee is infinitesimal. Like if we're talking about buying stocks worth 2,000 Egyptian pounds, their fee is close to 18, 15, 20, never exceeds that. So it's like maybe 1% or something. And they're really good. Their app is amazing. If you are in Egypt, in person, you can go and open up an account with them. I am trying to open up a way, have a dialogue with them where I can represent them here. And if anyone is interested in investing in the Egyptian stock market, then I can just send their details to the broker and they will take it from there. But like I said, it's still a work in progress. Right now, the best option would be to just visit them in person in Egypt. I'm going to do that when I go in May, and I will speak to them in person and see if I can get a connection going where we can directly open up accounts with them. Because to open up an account with the broker, you just need to have your Egyptian ID and a passport. And I think also foreigners can invest in the Egyptian stock market. And if you don't want to open up an account with KFH, you don't have to. It just means that the dividends that you receive, you will have to cash the checks in person. And bottom line, when it comes to investing in Egypt, selecting a broker that you are comfortable with is important. So whether you choose to go with Arabiya Online or anyone else, the information I have given you here today can be used for any market. I'm gonna open up the laptop now and I'll show you the pages that are for Simply Wall and how you can check the stock tips that they have, and also mubashir.info and what I look for when I open up mubashir.info. Any other questions?
Can you talk a little about mutual funds, please?
Thank you. I'm glad somebody brought it up. So mutual funds are detrimental to the way I see the stock market, because the difference between what I do and what a mutual fund does is, in my case, the stock is directly owned by me. In a mutual fund's case, the stock is not owned by you. It is owned by the owner of the mutual fund. So you're basically going through an intermediary. Now, in addition to that, the only fees that we face as direct investors is the brokerage fees when you are buying and selling. Whereas a mutual fund will take management fees, annual fees, performance fees. It can end up dipping into your capital. And if they are not doing well, and some mutual funds do not do well, they have years of losses, your essential capital will be eaten up and you will be required to put money in. Whereas if you're buying the shares directly, if you go to the register for that company in that country, you will find your name written there as a shareholder. You own those shares. They are in your name. You decide when to sell them or if to sell them. Whereas the mutual fund, you don't own a share in the company, you own a share in the mutual fund. And that mutual fund will constantly be buying multiple different shares in order to benefit from cash dividends, I believe, that help them to pay profits. But with direct investment, by buying the shares yourself and selecting the stocks yourself, it's a safer way than going with mutual funds. It's similar to certificates of deposits. In Egypt, like I said, my parents, all they did is just, they get their money, they close it into certificates that promise to pay 20% or 25% in 3 years. But then what happens? You're hit with a currency devaluation. So the money you are getting after those 3 years is worth less than the money you put in the beginning. And what's even worse is if you decide to break that certificate of deposit because now the interest rate is higher, you have to pay a penalty for that. Whereas if your money is in the stock market and you're just buying stocks, the stock price will adjust. And like I said, 19 companies I have invested in Egypt, only 2 are currently trading below the value that I started purchasing them at. But those companies are paying me cash dividends. So even if their value has gone down, even if the overall look in my portfolio is that this company has caused me a loss, it's still making me money. And I know that's a very difficult concept to comprehend, but yes, even if a company's stock price has gone down, they still can reward their shareholders with dividends. So on that, I'm going to just step aside to open up the site that I wanted to show you. So first one is mubashir.info. No, I don't want you to show me ads. And let's have a look at, I believe it's MFPC. So Mopco, yeah, this is Mopco. Okay, this is my Mopco. So when we're talking about picking stocks in Egypt, what I would do first is, okay, sorry, let's do it in the order we're supposed to. So we go here. Please ignore this number. It is not correct. Okay. With Simply Wall, like I said, it's a free tool. You go to Discover, and then you select the market you want. So they have every market imaginable. That if the country trades, if the country has a stock market, they have suggestions for that market. So we can look at Zimbabwe, Vietnam, anywhere. But okay, let's have some fun. Pick a country, any country. Botswana. So we go to Botswana. We go to Undiscovered Gems. And here, it will tell you that this, okay, what I'm pointing at here, this is called a snowflake diagram. The top left quadrant is indicative of dividends. So I can tell you that this company, Sechaba Brewery Holdings, does pay stock dividends or cash dividends. Now, what they are saying is that this company has gone up in value by almost 50% over 1 year. In some cases, it will have the, so here, for example, Seed company, it's trading at 3.5, and they're saying that it will drop to 3.25. So because I don't have much knowledge on the market in Botswana, I can't talk much about it. So we were just trying to prove that they do have the information. So if we go to a market that we are familiar with, like so these are the companies that they are recommending people to invest in. Now, here, this is a good company to show to our audience. Madinat Masr for housing and development, also part of my portfolio. It is currently trading at 4.7. The analyst's target is that it can reach 7.4. So what I do is, I would look at this company, for example, if I wasn't already invested in it. Or let's try to pick a company that I am not invested in. So this one, Canal Shipping Agencies, currently trading at 23.5 Egyptian pounds. Analysts' target is that it will rise up to 36.3. Export and Development Bank, I have invested with them. Heliopolis, I have invested with them. Alexandria Containers, I'm considering investing with them. Arabian Cement, funny story. I actually started buying shares in this company with the hopes of selling them, but then I just decided to keep holding that stock, and it continues to pay dividends. And if you remember what we said, so long as there is a color in the top left quadrant, it means that it is paying dividends. So Oriental Weavers, part of my portfolio. Crédit Agricole, part of my portfolio. This one, I think they're responsible for BMWs in Egypt, I believe. Egyptian financial, this is for industrialization. And look here, so when I saw MFPC here, it was trading at 70, and they were saying it would rise to like 210. So I'll admit, I got greedy, and I jumped in, and it's currently trading at a loss. But if we look at, okay, I told you I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to show you canal shipping agencies. Okay, so if we're going to pick it as a company. Now, the free version of this website will allow you to check 5 stocks where you can click and then see all the history, all the financial data, if that is how you roll. Now, I sometimes look at these, but I find them to be too much information, so I just decide to do a very simple analysis. But for those of you who are more analytical, you can, on the free version of the website, I think it gives you 5 companies you can check. When you first make an account, you can check as many companies as you want in 1 week. This was the case when I first opened up with them. I'm not sure what it is now. But basically, as you can see, there's a lot of information about this company. Okay? Now, when I chose MFPC, what I would do is go here, go to stock, and then say historical. So this shows you how long this company has been trading for. It's been trading since September 2016. Okay? Its price has been relatively stable until 2023, but then it started seeing a spike, and now we are at 41.9. I got in around here. Yeah, around here. So this already ticks one of the boxes I always wanted to look at, which is the company has been in existence for at least 10 years. The second thing I would advise people to look at is the corporate actions. Now, again, please keep in mind, this is free, absolutely free. Anyone can sign up to this with their Gmail email, and you get all this information. So we go down to corporate actions, and what do we see? Cash dividends, bonus shares, cash dividends. Look at the years. So 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, 17, 16 they missed, 15 they paid, 14 they missed, 13 they paid. So this will show you historically all of the dividends that this company has been paying. And if you'll remember, what we said is, if the company has been paying stock dividends or bonus shares for at least 5 years, in my eye, it's a good investment, because this means that if you buy 1,000 shares in this company, if you bought them in 2024, in 2025, as of 5th of May 2025, they paid 3.5 Egyptian pounds per share. Over time, you will cover the amount that you put in. Now, let's have a look at CSAG. And then I believe if we don't have any other questions, we can call it a day. So CSAG, Canal Shipping Agencies. If you'll remember, according to Simply Wall, this is a company that has potential to rise in value. So let's check it out. It's currently trading at 23.52. They have it at, where is the value? Go back. 23.52. So the numbers, caveat, the reason free information is not useful for day traders is that it's 15 minutes delayed. So if you ever intend on day trading, where you buy a stock and then you try to sell it by the end of the end of closing day because of a small tick up in its price, you will need to sign up for the full version of these websites. Or if you go with Arabiya Online, they have a screen that gives you second by second price changes. I did not sign up for that because, like I said, I am in it for the long haul, for generational wealth building. So going back to canal shipping agencies as our example, let's have a look at their historics. How long have they been trading for? Okay, this company has been around since 2001. I think actually the website was made in 2001 and this company existed for longer because I remember this date that April has, I've seen it for many companies. So this company has been around from April 2001 until now. And as you can see, there's an upward trajectory in its price where it started at 0.7 in 2001, it spiked up to 25 in February of 2008. 2008 is when we had the stock market crash around the world because of the subprime crisis. I remember because I was working in Kuwait at the time in my second job. And then this is the stock market crash. So actually, this is a very good example to show whenever there are periods of uncertainty, these are the perfect moments in time to jump in to the stock market. You can never get this with real estate because real estate prices do not drop this significantly. And in order to buy real estate, you have to take a loan or you have to have enough cash to make the down payment. You don't need to have too much money to start investing. You can start investing with as little as 5,000 Egyptian pounds, which is close to almost $150. Thank you so much. So here we are seeing that times of uncertainty, like the ones we are living in today, because of a certain orange menace south of the border, is a perfect time when to jump into the stock market. I should use this for my stand-up. Now, if you look at corporate actions for canal shipping agencies, remember, we are looking for cash dividends or stock dividends. So cash dividends in 2024. Not all, like with the other one, mostly with financial companies or with any companies that are trading in the stock market, they submit their financial statements on 31st December, and then by the time they are audited and by the time they have their annual general meeting to decide their stock dividends, it can be as far as June. So for MOPCO or MFPC, Mr. Fertilizers Company, they already had their AGM and they decided to pay dividends. And I'm very thankful to them for it. But here, for example, this doesn't mean that they have not declared dividends in 2025. It just means that they haven't yet decided. So looking through this, 2024, cash and bonus shares. 2023, cash dividends. 2022, cash dividends. 2021, cash dividends. 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. What is the word we are looking for here? Consistency. This company has consistently paid dividends. And to me, this is a good company to invest in. And I will be buying shares in canal shipping agencies tomorrow. I will put in the order. Now, I would show you what the Arabiya Online website looks like. Now, let's try. Hold on. If I can remember my password, I'm just gonna. I can pull this out and put it back in later, right? Because I don't want to. I don't want it to show the numbers. I'm offline. Oh, no, it's showing over there. Oh, okay. So nothing is showing. Okay, so only you guys will see. Okay. Let's try. I just need to remember my. George, is there a way to just show it from the phone? Or it's too much information? Okay, wait. Let me just try to figure out how I sign in. This is why we have great tech support. Oh, and now it decides not to work. Okay, let me just wait for it to work, because sometimes it has performance anxiety, and it won't work. Okay. Okay, it decided not to work. It's not working. It's okay. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the investment seminar I wanted to have. If anyone has any questions of any sorts, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Mind Messiah on Instagram. If you're a friend, if you're on social media, just shoot me an email, shoot me a message. I'm Ayman@letsgoforward.com. And most probably the easiest way to reach me is at Mind Messiah, MINDMESSIAH, on Instagram. And I will answer all of your questions with full transparency. I am not gatekeeping information. I am not breadcrumbing it for you. I told you exactly how I choose my stocks. I've told you exactly how I made unrealized gains of 3 times my investments. And the rest is up to you. If you decide to invest in Egypt, holler at me. If you decide to invest anywhere else, I wish you all the best. But please make sure to know the company you're dealing with, especially in terms of broker. I know there's a lot of apps out there, and Cards Against Humanity have taught us that there's an app for everything, because one of their cards reads there's an app for that. But in this case, when we're talking about your hard-earned money, do the extra steps. Actually pick a broker that has a physical location that you can go to and you can raise your concerns to, and that your money will come into your account directly, not through them. Thank you very much.